Hello, it's Monday. Back here at Monday Market 15, the 15-minute show that takes about 30 minutes, probably a little bit longer today, but who knows? I don't know what the direction we're going is, but I've got the itch, and I have the itch with my co-host. Her name, infamously, is Miss Ashley Miller.
Hello, everyone.
And with us today is our special guest. I'll let Ashley introduce him, and his name is?
Joey.
Joe.
No.
Oh, boy.
I'm not allowed to call him Joey. I know. Not in public, at least.
Oh, boy. So anyway, we're here on a Monday talking about real estate, talking about the things that matter to you the most. So we're bringing Joe along to talk about fixing and flipping, because everybody wants to get in the fix and flip game when it's probably the worst time to get in for some of us. But I don't know. Joe's here to answer that. Ashley, you had some questions, miss.
I do. So one of the common things that Joe and I hear often. Aren't you proud of me? I said Joe instead of Joey. Here often is people want to get into real estate, or they want to buy, and they're like, we're just going to buy a house and we're going to flip it. And then that's his response.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions out there, with people coming on board. They see real estate, they see the sexiness that it can bring, things. People, talk about the dollar figures when they get into this fix and flip game, and you live it and breathe it, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about that, Joe.
How sexy is it?
It can be. It can be. It's a lot of fun, and you can make a lot of money, but you really just need to know what you're doing and don't try to get into something too big too quick.
I would think so. When somebody comes to you and their first thing is like, I'm going to fix and flip this property, I'm sure you're going to roll your eyes and be like, oh, okay, good talk. How do you walk them kind of through that process, and what does that look like to you? Because you already know it. This is embedded in you. Yeah. How do you explain to them and go through that process?
I mean, I think the biggest advice I would give you, at least starting out, is start small and start with just a cosmetic flip. Don't try to get into something where you're knocking down walls and you're trying to just start something small, maybe a little condo, maybe, $150,000, $200,000 condo that has a decent return on it, and just start with that.
Yeah, because I don't think there's a whole lot of people out there that have a lot of funding anyway.
Mm-hmm.
If you're brand new into the game, I'm not sure that you're going to have, a couple $100,000 to invest. And it's not just about buying the house too, right? It's about cost of goods and everything else.
Yeah, it can be. Also contractors, the materials are obviously those are going up, and just finding workers to actually work on this stuff. It might even be a good idea to JV with somebody that's done this a couple times.
So JV, like a joint venture, partner with somebody who is.
I'm glad you asked, because I was like, JV, junior verb.
Junior varsity.
Yeah.
Junior.
I've done a few of these.
Well, and when you say start off with a condo, a lot of times there is a homeowners association. You got to look into that.
Sure.
Because those rules are changing.
Sure.
Continuously, and then the contractors.
Well, I think needless to say, there's a lot of things that go into fixing and flipping. And when somebody gets into it, it's like, you know what? I'm just going to buy a house, like an ugly house, and I'm going to work on it, and then I'm going to sell it for a lot of profit. I mean, that's a pretty simple, I think, answer, or at least a question, or whatever anybody's out there doing. But it justifies a more complex response, right? I mean, what is it like in the average, everyday kind of fixing and flip game?
Joe?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more that goes into it than just what HGTV says. Depending on how you buy it. If you have the cash, that's great. But if you need to finance it through either hard money, there's holding costs. There's going to be costs, just realtor cost on the sell side. There's a lot more costs that go into it.
What would you say is anticipation from the time you see a property, and let's say you're just going to do cosmetic flip. So with the cost of, items going, or material going up, plus however they decide to finance it. Let's just say it's hard money, plus the realtor fees, and what is the percentage you would anticipate for them to just automatically, before they even think about it, onto that bottom line?
What they're looking to make off of it?
No, just like let's say I'm like, Joey, I found this house that's super awesome. It's like $200,000. I feel like it's under market, and I could sell it for $230. So instantly, people are thinking they're going to make $30,000 on it,
right.
maybe 25 because they're just going to put 5,000 into it. In reality, what does that look like?
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Yeah, I mean, I mean, flooring alone. I mean, probably, I mean, at a minimum, you would probably have to factor in at least probably 10% just
On top of the
on
original
top
cost.
on top of.
So now that
that
$200,000 house that you're buying,
about 20, on a smaller flip, maybe 10 or 15,000 in the rehab.
Yep.
so let's call it 220 now, right?
Okay. Then you have on the sales side, you'll have the realtor fees at 2.5% or 3%, whatever you're willing to do there. Your holding costs, which are going to be about 10% interest.
You're already upside down.
So yeah, you're already losing.
Yeah.
And then if something goes wrong, I mean, if you have a leak or something and you didn't budget for that, I mean, you have to budget for miscellaneous items.
So when you go into a house, what are the first few things? Like, you're on the edge of either making an offer or you've made an offer. I guess it'd be pre-offer. So you're on the edge of making an offer on a house. What are some of the things you look at first? What are the
big ticket items like the air conditioning? Yep. Even though water heater is not too much, it's $1,200-$1,500 to get a brand new one in there. Appliances. How are the appliances? The roof. If it's a single family home, a lot of the condos will usually cover exterior part of the building, but if it's single family, the roof. Are there any kind of big cracks or foundation issues?
Bugs.
Water damage. Bugs, sure. There's going to be bugs.
Oh, boy.
But the big ticket items, you can, going into it, you can already pencil those in as you're going to have to rehab those. So everything else, I mean, mostly cosmetic. Yeah.
So I'm sure you've gone into a house before, and it's like, okay, I broke it down, we made an offer, got it, open it up, and then all of a sudden there's XYZ wrong, and you're like, oh my God, we need to get rid of this. Like, we can't even rehab this.
Tell us about that, Joe. About your emotional experience through these.
Mold, water damage,
Yep.
black mold. We've had hoarder houses.
Oh.
Yeah, because I'm sure that in these situations where somebody's just trying to get rid of a house and they know the problems, they're like, oh, somebody's gonna give me cash for it. Oh, okay, and then they don't tell you.
Usually, they don't disclose that. Yeah, especially where I'm buying them from. So,
is there a particular one that just stuck out and you're like, oh my God,
I have one in mind right now.
She knows it well.
I've been in it.
Oh,
There was a property. It was a multiplex property, and Joey bought a few in this area, and we walk into it, 3 of them, and you would have needed a hazmat.
Yes.
It was a hoarder and also a severe alcoholic, so the top floor was literally covered in Corona bottles, like literally covered.
Cockroaches.
Cockroaches.
Caked to the wall.
I opened the freezer and I thought I was gonna hurl.
It was bad.
It was so bad.
Yeah.
It was holes in the walls. It was pretty
Moldy. It was
terrible.
we found 2 gigantic rats.
So let's just use some average numbers, right? Let's just say hypothetically you got that property for $100,000, right?
Yeah.
147. We can go. Exactly.
Okay, so you can get literal. So if you want to get literal, I was doing hypothetical. So let's say you got it for you did literally. You got it for 147. Now you have to add your cost for
holding costs. So
holding.
That's going to be roughly with HOA. It's about $1,500 a month or so.
Okay.
It doesn't include utilities. You gotta have
right for people to work, so you have to include your utilities.
Yeah.
And then the repair.
So demo, got a demo. You gotta get a dumpster.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a big one too.
Oh, yeah, I just experienced that too. And you try to get away. I had a friend that had a dumpster, and luckily, I think I got away with probably about $700-800 in just rentals.
Sumters, yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, because and I made fun of that dude because he bought this trailer back in Texas, and he brought it back. He's like, look, I got a dumpster. I'm like, man, what are you gonna do with that shit? Yeah. And then as soon as I needed it, I'm like, hey, can I borrow that?
And you're like, Violet,
Trash is expensive. Trash
it is expensive. I've been to the dump. Actually, I like the dump. It's pretty fun.
It's $50 a ton, right?
So it depends on which one you have. I mean,
it's not cheap.
Yeah. I think the 40 yarders, you only get I can't remember how many tons you get, but yeah. $550, I think, just for the 40 yarder.
And then you can drop off at the dump if you provide a water bill, but you can't go over a certain amount. And then the only good part about when you drop it off at the dump is you just freaking unload shit, and you can just it's aggression. Like you can just take out all your aggression on this trash and just throw things and break things, and it's actually very therapeutic. It's probably worth $150.
Ashley has a lot of anger problems. She got a lot of energy. She needs to do.
But so going back,
we had 2 dumpsters on that one. So
demo the dumpsters, the repair.
I'd actually pay a cleaning service to actually clean that one out. That was $900 I had to pay for that just for them to clean it. And then we started getting into demo. We had to knock down pretty much the entire kitchen, remove cabinets, remove all the flooring. Drywall, yes. The insulation was disgusting. It was probably $4,500, maybe $5,000 just for the demo part of it.
And that's just getting rid of stuff.
And that's just getting rid of stuff.
Yeah,
that's not even anything new. That's just getting cleaning. You know, and I mean, there's probably needless to say, there's a lot of extended costs that people don't anticipate. You know, when I bought my house in October, I knew that it needed a new roof. I needed new ACs. Which hi Tom, Tom's on right now. Tom Bizzelli AZ. He's out there doing air conditioners. You should be out. It's nice outside, Tom. But getting in there, and Tom actually did my AC. So thank you, Tom. No, but getting in there, I anticipated doing the roof, doing the ACs, but then did I anticipate all the trash costs? That's a good example of that because I didn't, and I think for me, I got away with about $2,500 in just dump fees. But I did a lot of the work myself. I had my brother-in-law over. I had people over moving stuff into the dumpster. I mean, I didn't have to hire anybody from Circle K or anything.
Oh no, that's funny. You bring that up.
There's some labor costs with that too, if you decide to go there.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's just so many unanticipated costs with a lot of this
and
stuff.
going back to hiring, because I did hire a few people from Home Depot, and they're not that reliable.
The quality of work
is not quite there. So you have to think about who. I want to go to the part where who's on your team. Do you have contractors on your team? Do you have a flooring guy? Do you have a cabinet person? Do you have a demo person? Do you have a cleaning team? You think there's so many levels. If you think you're going to demo, clean, and do all this stuff yourself, you're out of your mind.
I mean, if you're doing like one project yourself and you're handy, yes, you can do some of the stuff.
You don't have a job, you're handy, you have no kids, no life.
Yeah, some of the stuff you do need a licensed contractor for,
right.
if you are going to get into some of the bigger projects and things like that. But we have I have my guys, I've got a countertop guy, I've got a flooring guy, I've got, a baseboard guy, I've got, cabinet guy,
demo
guy, and some my business partner's wife
electrician
helps with the
design.
So we'll talk about strategies a little bit though in a second, but having all these people, are they like subcontractors, or are they somebody on payroll, or how does that structure work?
Yeah, we just have our guys. We pay them well. They're not subcontractors; they're just kind of handyman guys that do some of the stuff. I mean, they all have their own traits that they do. Our plumber has he does a lot of plumbing stuff. We have our electrician that goes in and does our things. But we give them enough work, so they're loyal to us. So.
Yeah, and I think as some of the audiences in there they're watching, they get this idea that they're going to go in and flip on their own, and I've had that too. When I bought my house, I'm a little handy, and I've trained on YouTube a little bit, but I would not take on electrical by myself. No, I would not take on ACs. I wouldn't necessarily do roofing. So or plumbing. Plumbing I would not do. But I'll hang a door all day. I'll lay floor. I'll put in molding.
Hardware.
Those are pretty easy stuff.
Sure.
You know, you just need a little pop though. But
Yeah.
you came here to talk a little bit more about strategies too, about like, you know, there's different kinds. It's not just fixing and flipping. It's not just buying and then selling. There's other strategies too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so every time I look at a property, I underwrite it, and I always have a couple different exit strategies, whatever.
Well, what does underwriting mean, though? So a lot of people.
Ashley's taking off her shirt.
Because it is hot.
Shit is getting real. Ashley
No,
is getting a little crazy.
She wants more
Getting
views.
hot in here.
She's letting the girls play.
Underwriting is just running your numbers or knowing your numbers. So, for example, like if I look at a house, and let's say one of my strategies is wholesaling, right? So if I look at a house and I can pick it up for $200,000 and maybe wholesale it for let's say $220,000, make $20,000. Really not a lot of work there.
So wholesaling is basically when you purchase a property.
Yes.
You put down the earnest money,
Yes.
which is typically a requirement between $5,000 or $10,000, non-refundable.
Depending, yeah. And then you're assigning the contract to somebody else. You're basically finding a buyer.
Assigning means
middleman.
selling the property before you actually close on the property. It's like basically you're selling a piece of paper with a house attached to it.
Yes.
Is what
Yes.
it is. Yeah.
Pretty much.
So
So let's say I end up wholesaling it, or we know that we make about $20,000 a wholesaler, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now let's say I want to flip it. If I do flip it myself, and I can make $300,000, right? So
right.
got $100,000 return there, but then I got to back in all my numbers.
All of these things. Oh,
Yep.
shoot, what we just talked about.
Oh boy,
Everything we just talked about,
We're
holding
losing it.
costs, everything, you know, realtor fees on the back end, and let's say my net on that is going to be, you know, $50,000 after all that, right? After the rehab, I have to put in, you know, 20 or 30,000 or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
So plus the time it's going to take to do this.
So
you know,
time is money, as we
Time
always
is
say.
money.
So going back to the one property we were talking about, when you anticipate time and you look at a property, you're like, oh, this will take 30 days. Oh, this will take 60 days, 90 days. But with the way our market is right now and finding contractors that show up, when you think 30, what are we really anticipating?
Yeah. So if you think 30, you probably want to close to double it at least.
Yeah.
Right. Plus, then you have when the transaction time. You know, you find a buyer. If you find one day one, that's fantastic. And right now you probably can. But then the transaction process is another 30 days. So now we're at 90 days.
Yep.
Every day you hold the property, it costs money. You know, $50, $100 or whatever it's going to be on the holding cost a day per day.
Yeah, and there's there's an FHA rule too, so that plays into it. I think when you have a 90-day kind of like, I don't even know what it would call it, moratorium between like purchasing from one owner to another, you can't accept a FHA loan.
Right, it has to be 90 days,
I think,
So I guess in a normal market that would be a consideration. Today, I don't think you have to worry about that because you got cash, you have enough buyers out there to pick and choose.
But there are I mean, the most recent property that you're selling is an FHA.
Yeah.
But you've had that property.
I actually got a bunch of offers, and I actually gave it to an FHA buyer because they had been struggling so much. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Look how
Yeah,
amazing
they wrote a nice
Joey
letter.
is.
How much over asking? How much over asking?
We
did they
actually
give
had,
on there?
I took the one that was a little bit less. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's still people out there like that.
And there
so
is,
there
and-
is a chance for you if you're looking for buying a house right now.
I feel bad for some of those people. First time home buyers, got a daughter. I was like, all right.
Heartstrings.
It's a nice
Ollie.
letter. Yeah.
So and then the other strategies. So we covered them all, Miss.
No,
Miss
so
Mo?
we were talking about wholesailing, so anticipating. So we talked about that, selling paper, the cost with when you do purchase a property. You know, you think 30 days, double that plus transaction time, and then of course.
So also I also own a couple of Airbnb properties or short-term rental properties. So running the numbers on those, typically we try to buy single-family homes, but just getting the rents on there, just cash flowing on these properties.
So with Airbnb, isn't that a little bit different strategy than, let's say, like a long-term renter? Like, an Airbnb is more like a 0 to 3 months kind of, I guess, a short-term, maybe a week to week. But isn't there a different strategy with those rather than a long-term? Because in my experience, with some of the Airbnbs, you got to make them look pretty. You got to make them look like extraordinary. You got to make them look a little bit out of the normal, because people, the reason they go to Airbnb, well, it's not because they have to. I think in this market they kind of have to. But there are people who actually want a vacation. They want to have that kind of that vacation feel.
Sure.
So Is there a little bit different strategy in marketing those versus long-term rental?
Yeah. So
This is Joey's. I don't know if this is your Achilles tendon or something that you're like going to really give some freaking amazing advice on because you faced some turmoil through it.
yeah.
Oh boy, yeah.
Our Airbnbs are doing really well. Like I have a certain
Beautiful.
area here in Arizona that I strictly just buy my Airbnbs. They tend to make a lot more money in these certain areas.
But the cost, like going into it, so like I feel like an average person, not saying you're above average by
Yeah.
any means, I'm not
Hey,
giving you that much credit. No, just kidding. But they go and they're like, we're gonna buy an Airbnb, and all of a sudden they're like, oh crap, we have to furnish this place. We have to provide plates and spoons and utensils and plasticware for by the pool, and then like the decking, and then all of a sudden you're like thinking that you're gonna buy this place and you might spend $5,000, and now you're 15 grand in to a property, furnishing it and providing all the things that are on this standard Airbnb list that
Yeah.
you never even thought of needed to be on there.
Yeah, you saw that one firsthand, I think. We went a little over budget on our first one, just buying beds and buying everything. But it was definitely worth it.
Was there any party or anything that you had to clean up after? Like
Actually,
puke
I had to
stains or
evict
something?
somebody
On an
Phoenix
Airbnb?
Open Weekend. Phoenix Open Weekend, yeah.
Are you serious?
So-
I didn't tell a story. I didn't hear about this.
Yeah. So we're pretty strict on our rules. I mean, we don't allow parties. If you're going to tell us that there's 6 people staying there, we want 6 people staying there.
Well, I mean, if you look at the because you can put in there what you're going there for, and if there's like one dude coming with like 5 other dudes, you can pretty much bet that it's like a bachelor party or something. And
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we don't allow that. I mean, we respect our neighbors. We don't want any
Yeah, and
riffraff
it's
and
a very
whatnot.
nice neighborhood,
Yeah.
like family oriented.
So
Yeah.
so they said that there was 6 people staying there. They ended up having about 20. Cops were called.
oh boy.
So we let them go through the night because I didn't want to, 2, 3 in the morning. I'm not, But next day,
you should have called me. I would have regulators mount up.
Yeah. So actually, Airbnb canceled their booking.
Yeah.
So we had to go over there and just make sure all the. guys-
So I heard a new rule recently, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, in Scottsdale that they'll first call the person who has the Airbnb, and you have a certain amount of time to respond, or that you will be fined.
They just canceled the booking actually that night.
Oh, okay, they did, okay.
They canceled that booking that night. We weren't going to go over there at that time.
Yeah, okay.
So we just did it the next morning
Yeah.
at 11. We said, hey guys,
Because
Airbnb
there's a
canceled
lot of
theirs.
responsibility having an Airbnb, and you don't think about things. So I'm in an Airbnb in a family neighborhood, and you think that people are truthful.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden now you have 20
Yeah.
holes at your house, like trash, whatever they're
Yeah.
doing. And at the end of the day, you're still responsible.
Yeah.
And I feel like people forget that when
Oh,
they're
yeah.
like thinking, I'm just going to get an Airbnb.
I mean, if our neighbors start complaining too much, they can shut us down in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
But we have noise monitoring devices in the house, so if it gets over a certain decibel, it'll alert us.
What?
It'll actually alert Airbnb as well too.
I need that in my home life.
So they had about 20 people staying there that night.
Okay.
So.
Oh boy. So I mean, is there regarding some of the strategies and stuff? Because we're coming towards the tail end. We have about 5 minutes left, Miss
Yeah.
Miller.
Oh,
Can you
wow.
believe that?
Oh, wow.
We've gone
Yeah,
over
that's okay.
15, but we're under 30.
So,
That's an amazing
Can I
feat.
ask a big question?
can
Fix or
ask.
flip, buy and hold, Airbnb / short term, wholesale, or selling to iBuyers? Which one do you love the most?
Whoever's making the most money.
Love that answer.
That's a true
Really,
investor right there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any sentimental value to this stuff. It's whatever.
Do you have
we're
an
making the
emotional
money, it's
attachment?
just
Do you find that you have an emotional attachment to either one of these scenarios?
I like personally, I like the Airbnbs just because I like the residual income.
Okay.
I get a paycheck, or not really paycheck, but I get paid every
No, it's
single.
it's residual income.
Yeah, pretty much. We get paid out almost immediately. I mean, our net on some of these are about $100K a year that we're just taking in from these rentals.
So Airbnb is the preference to go to.
It would be my preference, and more buy and hold stuff. Flips are nice because you do get a good decent return usually, but then you have to worry about capital gains. You got to still pay taxes on top of all that stuff.
we
So
haven't
that's
ta-
that's why I wrote down here tax, CPA,
Oh, don't even
costs,
get-
budget sheet.
Yeah.
That's a
Don't
whole
get us
other
started.
conversation.
That's for another show, but we're at the last 5 minutes. The last 5 minutes, I didn't want to touch upon the market, because there's so many people that do watch us and they do get information from us about Phoenix in itself, and so is there anything in the Phoenix market, anything that you want to kind of direct or give information on, or that you're in the know about? Comments or questions? Go ahead and drop those in right now.
The know about.
Or anything you follow, or anything, go-to information, whatever floats your boat, Joe.
Joe.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I don't know.
Where do you get like your intel from about like how to fix, like, for properties to fix and flip, to buy and hold, like wholesale? Do you
one
have
thing
like
that actually like really helped me early on? So I'm actually a licensed real estate agent as well.
EXP.
With EXP Realty. What really helped me early on was I knew I could sell real estate. I just didn't know how to do it. So getting into real estate, you don't have a clientele that actually, right away, like you don't have a lot of deals. So what my strategy was going there was working with investors. Investors, work, or buy, 5, 10, 15, sometimes 20 homes, a month, as opposed to somebody like me and you, and buys one every, 5, 10, 15, 20 years.
Exactly.
So I started working with these investors, and for 3-4 years I was just a sponge. I really just saw what they were doing, learn how they were doing the things, and then just started going off on my own. But really just learning from other people was huge for me.
Yeah, and I think if there was a takeaway, I guess, for our audience, anybody watching right now, it's really opportunities. I think the more people you know, the more opportunities you have. Sure. Let's just bottom line anything in life, and so when you start, I think, an industry, or when you get into the fix and flip game, the more exposed you are to it, the more information you have. Over time, it's just going to compound on itself. And so, like, if you want to get in the fix and flip game, it's just putting yourself there. I think this is probably the biggest takeaway for me.
Start small. Start small.
Yeah, don't go $1 million mansion and think you're gonna flip it next week and make 4. I mean, well, actually, you might in this market.
You can.
I mean, let's not take that away. But I'm just saying, like, putting yourself and exposing yourself to a certain part. The problem with people is that they try to do too much. Yeah. They get an idea in their head and they try to take it on too much without really kind of investing and really kind of understanding, investing in themselves, educating themselves regarding this stuff. But there's other ways they can contact you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Contact me on Facebook or actually I don't really have an Instagram, but Facebook. Or contact me through Ashley.
Yeah, if you want to contact Ms. Miller right here on RC Network.
I think it's human nature to sometimes get in over our head and we're excited about something. Yeah. And sometimes we just need a namaste moment. And Joey's giving many of those to me. Like, do you have an Excel spreadsheet?
Ashley, what do you do?
I do now. Exactly. What are you doing right now?
So it sounds like you guys have worked on a deal before. I mean, I've kind of gotten that resonating feeling.
We've experienced some trauma together.
Since we're in the last minute or so on the show, is there anything that you're dying to want to know about, Miss Miller? Or that you're dying to say, Joe?
Go ahead, Miss Miller.
Dying to say, I think
you got a million things.
I always do. The number one thing, intuition is your superpower. So if there is a property that you have such a great feeling about it, run with it. I'm not saying to spend all your money on it, but what I'm saying is do a little recon, reach out to the people that are around you, that surround you. So if there's something out there that you absolutely want to be a part of, use your resources. That's super important, and use Excel. And put your numbers down, because Excel is magical.
And if there was any advice that you could give, Joe, to anybody out there, some takeaways or anything that you've experienced that you would want to say to anybody out there watching right now about this game?
Just know your numbers. Really, that's what it comes down to. Everything's about the numbers. Know your numbers. That is profound and simple and straight to the point.
It's the fact. I mean, it doesn't matter what area of town you're in or what state you invest in. As long as your numbers work out, you're always going to profit.
Yeah, and since we were talking about numbers, I just want to bring up one last thing. Here is the market index, which is we bring up every week, and we kind of start seeing this demand. It's still high, but it's right on the cusp of that balanced market. You believe that? So demand, in my mind, is not necessarily decreasing, but it is minimizing. There's still a lot of people out there aggressively looking for houses. It only takes one buyer to buy a house. So if what I'm seeing is a lot of competition off of one house. And looking at the area market, we're looking at about 4,600 active and coming soon listings.
This condo I just put on the market a week and a half ago, I think I had 130 showings.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Holy
130,
guacamole.
something
Well,
like that.
and in a balanced market, you have roughly about 30 to 35,000 listings, and right now we have 4,600.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of competition out there. But if you look at that index, the market index, it takes a lot of indices into account. Demand is somewhat decreasing, and I should say it's probably just a little above average. But you only need one buyer on one house.
Yeah, a lot of these properties that are actually listed are through these iBuyers. I mean, Open Door, I think, Zillow,
Zillow's
not Zillow
offloading
anymore, but
a lot.
yeah, OfferPad. I think 20% probably at least minimum of
And-
that 46.
And so the market index does indicate a seller's market only because of supply, and that's what this supply index is showing.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Oh boy, no.
Sorry.
Yes.
When it says seller's market, does that include the iBuyers in that scenario?
It's showing a market where it's favoring sellers right now.
Okay.
So, and whatever kind of data you want to pull from, iBuyers, regular buyers, alien buyers, whatever you're buying, foreigner buyers. It's just taking into account that there is demand in the market.
Yeah.
But really, that demand is all predicated by supply. Just green is not good. Green just means very low supply, and red means we have too many houses. So the reason why we have the market the way it is because supply is significantly low. So that's it today, everybody.
Is that really
Can you believe it?
That was quick.
It goes by fast. That's why it's
Yes.
a 15-minute show that lasts 30 minutes.
It's the 15-minute show, last 30 minutes. So I want to thank you, Joe, for coming on today and giving us a little bit of insight. Maybe we can have you on and explain some of these things more in detail. Ashley was just really excited having you here. Ashley Miller, a Great American Title. Joe from eXp Realty. Any last words before we go?
We're out.
Yeah.
Peace
Do it
out.
again.
Love, peace, and chicken grease. We'll see you guys next week.
Chicken.